Hey y'all, it's Regina. I also like to be called Regi. In today's video, I'm talking about my coming out journey, which is really, really hard to conceptualize for me. It's very weird. I'm a sucker for really smooth and cool narratives, and this narrative is cool. It's just not smooth, and so just hope you roll with it. So I guess a big aspect of the beginning of my journey is emphasizing how ingrained and embedded Black womanhood was to my identity, and is to my identity. I grew up around a lot of incredible Black role models, Black femme role models. My mom, just a bunch of aunties, the memory of my grandmother, who was the matriarch of our family. I just was my identity was saturated in the power of Black womanhood and what that meant and how that flowed into our resilience and our work ethic and all these traits that intersected culturally with what it meant to feel and be a Black femme or a Black woman. And so I never really questioned it heavily as a kid or as a teen, because again, it was such an seemingly inherent aspect of my identity that it wasn't something that I could question. So I didn't begin to deconstruct Black womanhood until I found YouTube. I found YouTube was the social introvert's dream. I was a very curious person, but also very quiet, and so YouTube was the perfect way to satisfy my quiet curiosity. I could have these hundreds of questions that I had simmering in my mind, answered in such a safe and accessible way, where I could just be quietly eating my oatmeal as people talked about queerness, or talked about their day, or talked about depression or Black hair, or just so many topics that I deeply had a lot of deep, intimate questions about. And I also had questions answered that I didn't know I had. And one of those questions that I didn't have answered was actually through one of Hardell's videos. One of their old videos talked about spectrums. They conceptualized a model of romantic, sexual, and gender identity through spectrums. And I remember feeling a wave of just sudden awareness, and it really blew my mind to have these unquestioned aspects of my identity laid out in such a new visual framework, and allowed non-binary identities within that framework. And that was the first time that I heard of the concept of being non-binary. And I remember being really fascinated. I first saw this framework, I saw this video when I was a freshman in college, and I remember showing a bunch of close friends. I would show them the video and ask them to do a spectrum that they didn't have to show me, but if they just if they went through it, that'd be so cool. And I really loved having discussions about deconstructing what my sexuality meant to me, what my romantic orientation meant to me, what my gender meant to me. And so I began asking those questions and hearing other perspectives when I was in college, but didn't really feel safe fully exploring it until after college. For me, not college or our education, at least the American education system, in a lot of ways replicates the systemic inequality that those who are oppressed face. And so college, while it's often framed in a way of safe exploration, self-exploration, that is nuanced for people who have different intersecting identities. And so for me, as a Black femme who had a really fluid social and income status, College wasn't quite the safe space for me to explore my identity. And so it wasn't until after college when I began, exploring what personhood meant to me. And I went to a coming out group. I went to a coming out group at a local LGBTQ center in Houston, called the Mantra Center, if you're in Houston. And yeah, I was referred to that, and that actually, that's something that I deeply recommend if you are having a hard time framing what your identity looks like to you. For me, going to a setting where like a trained facilitator was there to talk in a group setting with people about, their internal conflict or about the things that they heavily questioned. It was just a really, really great space for me to go to begin to reframe what my identity meant to me, what queerness meant to me. And so yeah, I went to that coming out group for some time. After leaving that group, when the time felt right, and beginning my recovery from depression through medication, I began practicing self-compassion when it came to my coming out. And so that's when I came out to myself. Again, it's really hard to frame when you are coping with depression, or for me, coping with depression, a lot of other emotions are often blunted for me. And so a lot of my other emotions were drowned out in pain, a lot of pain, joy, happiness, serenity, everything sort of had this like ringing pain where I couldn't hear myself, I couldn't hear what it meant to be me. And so as I began to recover from my depression and experiences of trauma, like instead of just feeling like that ringing pain, I could also feel, like as it dimmed a bit, I could feel like the soothing warmth of like hearing other stories on YouTube again, or reading articles or other voices on like what it means to be non-binary. I could feel like that settling sensation rather than just like the pain of my existence. And so that's pretty much it for me right now. I have come out to close friends as non-binary. I've come out on my social media, and I slowly began coming out at work as non-binary. And yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now. I think if there's anything that I want to emphasize with this video is that as much as like we would like to center insight in self-exploration and coming out, like that wave of insight, there are so many external factors that play into your coming out journey, and those external factors don't invalidate your path or your voice or your journey. To me, is like I coped with a lot of trauma, and I coped with feelings of dysphoria that stemmed not only from my gender identity, but from a lot of aspects of my life as me in America, as a Black person, especially in America. And so for me, those aspects of my life deeply intersected in me coming out. And it's hard, but acknowledging that in my story has deeply amplified my ability to be self-compassionate to myself, and deeply amplified my ability to embrace the stories of others. And so yeah, that's it. I hope this resonated with you. Please tell me about your coming out story, if you want to. Please tell me, please share any questions you have for me about my story, or share any questions that you're still asking yourself, or any advice you'd give to your old self. Just comment everywhere, because I love YouTube. That's it. So I'll see you next time. Bye.